Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to Mind Heist episode. Well, it's 141 really, isn't it? The last one I just threw out there as 140, and inshallah, not this episode. The next one will have that guest that I mentioned before.
Well, I thought I was the guest. What's going on?
Bro, how can you be a guest when it's your podcast, bro? I'm pretty sure you came up with the name Mind Heist.
Oh, probably.
That's the first time we've ever mentioned that, but I think it's true, bro. Mashallah. I remember, we were going back and forth for it felt like a long time about the name. I feel like it was at least a week. And you just like gun ho. You just wanted to pick a random thing, go for it. I was like, no, it don't feel right. When you said Mind Heist, I was like, that's the one.
Yeah. But then, a lot of names, like when I Google Mind Heist now, it's like some sort of song that came out on the soundtrack of Inception. So I'm
is
like,
it? I thought it was a
maybe
band.
that's where it's come from. Oh, it's probably something, isn't it?
Oh, so
But
you
the
were
thing
thinking
is,
that you copied it.
yeah, that's what in my subconscious I probably was, but I didn't. But the thing is, my theory with names is that they don't take on a meaning until they become what they are, like what you know them for. Like you put a random few words together, but because you then associate it with that particular product or particular brand or whatever, that's when it starts embedding itself. So I don't like to think too like Pure XI, bro. Like people ask me what Pure XI was or whatever. I can make up a meaning, but at the end of the day, I knew it would eventually have meaning once.
Yeah. You're a brand builder, bro. I mean, I don't honestly. I have no idea what people think Mind Heist is supposed to mean, but I know what it means. You know what it means, and it is cool, bro. Like, and I think that's just because, in other things like in business, it's like no, if it's not working, it's not clicking within like 1 month, I get fidgety. I want to change it. But with the podcast, it was not about like immediate performance. It was just about talking to you every week kind of thing. And it's because of that I was like, yeah, let it ride. And now, I mean, I don't know. Do you think people what do they think the name is supposed to even mean?
I think it has a lot of meanings, and the way I see it, it's like it works in both ways. So it's either like we're giving people new ideas, or I mean, the normal one is like the world is sort of taking over your mind in a way. The world is there's so many different elements that we speak about that affect people's not just personalities, but perceptions, opinions, etc. But then there's also I suppose our narrative is to just offer and explore alternative opinions to things and alternative explanations, and that also then creates, or engages us in a mind heist, so to speak. But it works, man, and that's what it's about. If our podcast was about cars, for example, it wouldn't make any sense. I've never, for how long we've been doing this now, maybe 4 or 5 years. I've never once thought about changing the name, not even once. I've thought about, obviously, I've thought about
changing the logo.
Yeah, just that, because I'm like that. I don't really stick with a. On Twitter, I've seen people with the same profile picture since like I can remember being on Twitter. I change mine like every other month.
Yeah. There's two types of people. Yeah. Okay, so if we're going to get into this topic of Metaverse, right?
That's a good segue, bro.
Say again?
That's a good segue.
Yes.
We're talking about...
Because I feel like it might be a potential mind heist.
Think about it, though.
Yeah.
We just said, like, the changing of profile pictures and the changing of people, yourself, reinventing yourself. And I think we all, well, I say we all, a lot of people do that through social media. And for those I'm not aware of the Metaverse, we've given it some time, haven't we? Because we haven't just spoken about it as soon as it's kind of dawned upon us. But we've, the announcements came out a few weeks ago, and it seems to be the next evolution of. It combines the next evolution of the internet, but also the next evolution of social media. The next evolution of shopping, the next evolution of everything online. And for anyone who's seen, the quickest example I can give, anyone who's seen any film with like virtual reality, like Ready Player One, I'm trying to think of other ones, but they're all anime.
Ready Player One is the one, I think.
Yeah, the most popular.
Also, I don't know how much they have it in Wall-E. They do have like a VR world in Wally, right? Or
Yeah, it's almost like that. It's Wally definitely does show you the kind of effects that it will have on people. So
but you know
Wally's
those
looking at it from
people
the
in
outside
the,
in.
I think it's like in a space station, right, where the Earth has been destroyed and like it's not inhabitable by people, and people are living on a space station, and they don't walk around the space station. They sit on like a
Yeah.
pod or something, but they're going around the space station with their eyes uncovered, right?
Yeah, so this is
Yeah.
it. They're not actually immersed within this
Okay.
reality.
Okay.
They are eh, they are basically glued to screens, so they're constantly engaging in everything through a screen
Oh, there's a
almost.
screen right in front of them. Okay,
Yeah,
right,
right in
right.
front of them,
But we
which
don't
isn't
know
too
per
far
se if
different.
it's like a VR
No, I
kind of
mean,
thing. It could just be like watching Netflix.
yeah. So
Yeah.
VR's existed for some time. I've had one proper experience with VR. Me and my wife went to a location in London where um, it was a booth. So it had all these booths, right? It was like an arcade, but it had maybe six, seven, I don't know, 10 booths, um, all lined up like this. So each person gets their own booth, okay, which was quite cool. I thought this was actually really interesting. Um, and you go into a booth, and my wife goes into another booth, and there's like a VR headset hanging from the
Yeah.
ceiling. There's all these fans and lights and stuff in that room. Um, and you put the VR headset on, and then you get transported into essentially another world, right? And to move, you have to kind of walk like that with your arms. Although I have seen online they've got like these like 360 treadmills that you could
Oh,
probably
yeah.
use,
That's the next
right?
level.
And in it, there's a hub world. So there's like a hub location where all the players are kind of are. I get transported to it. I turn around, I can see my wife's avatar behind me,
Yeah.
and then we walk together in this hub world to choose a game to play, right?
Right.
And this is important. The hub world idea is important. So you choose a game to play. So for example, the first one was it's pretty incredible, really. It was like this Tarzan style jungle game, right? So as soon as you get in there, bro,
Uh-huh.
it teaches you the basics. You can see your hands. You're clearly in a different world because the art style is different than the hub world, and you, basically one of the most fascinating experiences I can remember was the swinging element. So you literally, it was almost like Spider-Man, bro. You were swinging from one sort of vine and then catching another one and swinging to the other one, and you
Yeah.
could feel that they combined that with the element of wind. So they had the fans
Ah.
blowing and the heat of the
Okay.
sun.
Next level.
Yeah, so if you looked at the sun, you could feel the heat. If you got near fire, you could feel the heat.
Oh, wow.
Um, and
And
it
what do you,
really,
what, so you've got a headset on. What are you
yeah.
holding in your hands?
So sorry, yeah, you're holding two like sort of stick style
Oh, yeah,
controllers.
yeah. This is
But they've
the,
got
is
gyro
this
on them and
the,
stuff.
it's called Vive?
There's a few, and I don't remember which one specifically. I
Yeah,
know that
yeah.
there's the HTC Vive. I think there's the Oculus, which is the Facebook one,
Yeah, yeah.
or the Meta one, so to
Yeah,
speak.
yeah.
And I know that PlayStation has got PSVR.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I feel
and they're
like
also
a few years ago, at least, when I played a VR game, um, HTC was the most advanced when it came to games, at least. I'm not sure.
possibly. I mean, I know that because Oculus is runs on the PC and it's on Steam, which is a sort of a gaming platform on the PC. Um, it's way more. It's an open ecosystem to so many sort of developers. So even like me and you, if we were good at coding, we could develop a game for it.
Okay.
Whilst like PlayStation is very locked away behind the PlayStation ecosystem and it
Yeah,
has to have
yeah,
approval and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
And then HTC is going to be similar to the PC because you can make
Uh-huh.
stuff for the
Yeah,
phones and
yeah.
stuff.
Okay, bro. Go back to the Tarzan swinging.
Yeah, so so from that point you go to another game. You can jump out of that when you're done with that. I think there was set timers. Anyway, I don't know how the arcade necessarily had it set up, but you go back to the hub world when you're done. Reunite with my wife's avatar again. What game she'll play now? I can't remember all of them. There was one sort of samurai one where you're sort of having a sword fight. There was another one where it was like zombies. That was terrifying to say the least because you're in one room and there's multiple entry points like windows, doors, balconies that zombies can come through,
Ah,
and you've just got to basically defend yourself in this room as long as possible as hordes and hordes come in.
uh-huh.
And yeah, but it was kind of cool. Like, it's a different way of playing a game. It's a completely different experience.
Yes.
And I'm not going to bore you with too many of the details for those that aren't really gamers. But going back to what I was saying about the hub world,
Uh-huh.
this is the key difference, I believe, that kind of It's where the metaverse kind of sits. So they're talking about the metaverse as it connects multiple different areas of the internet in a
Or
sense. So
platforms, yeah.
yeah, so let's say we're on the computer right now. We want to go from Ecamm to Twitter. We click on Twitter and we load up the page for Twitter. Um, and then likewise, if you want to go to eBay or YouTube or whatever, you click on the button, you type it in, and you go to that webpage. But the metaverse doesn't necessarily want you to unplug or want you to make it such a, like a sudden transition like that. It probably wouldn't even be that nice for the eyes, right? But if you're in a hub world and you can sort of see things around you, you could like maybe push something or walk to something or whatever, some sort of more natural movement to get to that next screen. And then you could suddenly get into the Tesla website, for example, because they said they bought some space there. And then you could see the car in front of you and walk around the car in front of you and sit in the car in front of you and test drive it in a track in front of you, right? Same with clothing. You want to go to H&M, for example. You want to go to Adidas, for example.
It could be like in the hub world, there are many doors, right? And you walk into the door to get onto a platform or website or whatever.
I don't know if you've seen. There was a pic. I don't know if it's Pixar. It was Disney anyway. Wreck-It Ralph or Ralph Breaks the Internet. It was a sequel to a Wreck-It Ralph movie.
Okay, no, I haven't seen.
So it's an animated movie. It's a sequel to a first one where a video game character in the first one is basically, it just shows you a story of them going from one video game to another and trying to basically, I don't know, save a princess or whatever. The second one, he transports himself into the internet, right? By mistake sort of thing. But what it does is it what's the word? Is it anthropomorphize? Is that the word I'm thinking of?
Okay.
Basically, it makes you imagine what life would be like in the actual internet if you were literally walking around the internet and seeing all the websites and the icons all in that kind of world, right? If you were actually some sort of 3D character within the internet, and that's probably the most accurate example I can think of like what the internet would look like from a metaverse perspective. So that's kind of what I'm kind of alluding to, and I'm sure some people will understand what I'm trying to say there. But how does? I mean, it's very clear straight away that Mark Zuckerberg's goal isn't just the basic, because I then proceeded to watch some interviews that he had with some influencers, and this was clearly a tactic that they were using, Facebook, to try and win some approval, because they weren't just doing interviews with CNBC and CNN and all this stuff about this. They were just getting YouTubers, bro. Like there were YouTubers like that I watch all the time, for example, that were interviewing Mark Zuckerberg about it, because they want to bypass the middleman and go straight to the people, the audience, in the most natural way. And one of the things he was asked was like, "Oh, what do you think the most difficult thing is going to be for the metaverse to figure out?" And he started talking about touch, bro. He was talking about, we need to figure out a way of replicating the feeling of a handshake, right? How do I make it? So it's like, whoa, how far do you want to go with this thing? Like, this clearly isn't something that you're just going to put on for 10 minutes and take off. Like, once you can start feeling things,
there's no need to leave, isn't it?
Yeah, there's no need to leave. Well, next you're going to figure out how to eat things, bro. How do I nourish the body with a chip and all this sort
Soylent.
of stuff?
You know Soylent, yeah?
No, I don't know. What's that, bro?
Soylent, it was like this powdered food. It's like a protein shake that in theory it has all the nutrients in it that you need to live, right? And so this crazy like kind of engineer minded guy he's like, eating is a waste of time. I just want to drink and get on with my life, like, right? Like one of those kind of grind kind of people who just like want to produce and productivity and all that, yeah? So he made Soylent, and you just drink it, for example, 3 times a day. That's 3 meals a day. You don't have to chew. You don't have to just drink, you know? And I think later it became a bit of a meme or a kind of a thing of, okay, the future is going to be that, where it's like you're in a VR world and you're just drinking Soylent.
Man, see, I don't want to fall into a classic, because we here at Mind Heist, we like to think a little differently, but at the same time, I don't want to fall into the classic old man hates technology trope, because that is what we are. By the time this is the full leading thing, because I'm sure it will be if society continues developing the way it does. I don't want to be that guy that says, "Oh, technology, back in my day and blah blah blah." I'm not going to deny that there's probably benefits for all of this, Um, Although a lot of the benefits are probably for the people that own the businesses themselves, as opposed to the consumer in the long run. Um, I Facebook's message or Meta's message has always been connecting people. That's what they want to do, right? It's all
Yeah.
about connecting people. And one thing I did realize is like my kids, for example, um, they definitely remember faces of people they haven't seen in so long because they see them all the time on FaceTime, or they see them all the time on, like my my uncle hadn't my brother-in-law hadn't seen my son, my little 2-year-old boy, in like over a year. Now I know that if that was me at that age, I would have just not known who this person is. I remember
Hmm.
when I first met my uncles and my auntie in Tunisia, bro, and I hadn't seen them in maybe 3 years, but I was so young that those 3 years felt like a lifetime. So when my cousin introduced me to them, I didn't know who they were. They were like, "Oh, we remember
Oh,
you. We used to raise you and all this stuff." I didn't know who they were, bro. I remember not knowing who these people were. But
wow.
like my son saw my uncle in person last week. Straight away, ran up to him, hugged him because he sees him on FaceTime all the time. So yeah, connecting people is important. Um, Technology has its benefits, but it can also skew things in a lot of ways, right? It can also demand things in a lot of ways. There's a lot of subtle things that, and I'm searching for the not so obvious things here, but like, we all know about social media addiction. We don't need to talk about that all the time. We all know about, standards of dress and standards of fitness and standards of appearance, those kind of things. We don't need to go into that too much. Like little things like, oh, why didn't you text me? Or why didn't you message me? Or you haven't, you liked my photo, but you didn't. All these sort of
You
weird,
saw my
so,
story.
yeah, you saw these weird pressures that wouldn't have necessarily existed. Like, think of, I don't know, look at you, you're a perfect example. You're very far away from your family, I can imagine, living in Turkey, and your family are probably all over the world in that sense. Now, if that was 100 years ago, hypothetically, yeah, maybe you get a letter once a year from somebody, if that, right?
Yeah. Bro,
Um,
yeah, for people listening, I grew up in a time I used to write letters to my granddad.
there you
Like he used
go.
to write me letters, I used to write letters back.
Yeah,
Obviously, let me think. Like I would have got like email probably in 2000 and what was it like four, maybe something like that. Three.
maybe.
It depends. Like I feel like our family were a little bit towards the later side of getting a computer at home. I'm not sure,
Right.
but at school we had email and all that, internet and all that. But I wouldn't have been able to email my grandfather, right? Because he didn't have internet, computer.
Mm,
He never did ever get computer or internet, phone or none of that. So yeah, I used to write letters to him, and he used to write letters back because I wasn't living in the same country as him. So
yeah.
instead of seeing him maybe once a year in the summer holiday, I write a few letters a year to him, you know. So
Mm,
it's I get in that sense like our generation's a bit crazy because I've actually written letters to people,
yeah.
and now I might see this metaverse thing come into reality. So from that to that in my lifetime, in one lifetime, it's very fast
Mm,
moving, really.
absolutely. And you know, I don't know if the human condition is ready for the next stage of that, because right now, um, the countless arguments or misunderstandings or all sorts of expectations that can happen because of social media, because of this maybe too much contact, and then something's wrong if you haven't replied in a few hours, or something's wrong if you know, and I don't know how to feel about that, really.
Hmm.
Um, the rights of people become a bit different. Like 100 years ago, the rights would have been a particular thing. Now, like you go on, if you were to ask a sheikh online, plenty of sheikhs do, what's it called? Q&As and stuff, and you were to ask him in today's context, oh, a brother messaged me and I ignored it for 3 days. Does that count as me? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Like, oh, I didn't speak to him, I didn't text him in 3 days. Does that count? Because there's that hadith, or that tradition of the Prophet ﷺ about not, cutting off your
So,
brother for 3 days or something along those lines. There's a
yeah,
lot of things now.
yeah.
The fiqh kind of shifts a little bit when the world shifts towards the online kind of sphere of
Mm.
living out your life.
Mm.
Um, So Allah knows best, bro. What do you
Bro,
think anyway?
I can go into some of those things I think that might be negative about it, but I just to go back because you're talking about the Tarzan thing and the game you
Oh
played.
yeah, go on. Yeah,
I
yeah.
went to VR Park in Dubai Mall. I actually went like 3 times, and it's quite expensive, but I went 3 times, and it became my thing where if anyone's visiting, I take them there because it's quite sick, bro. It's really
Yeah.
sick. The last time I went though, it was disappointing because the best games they'd removed them for some reason. But to give people a picture of what it's like a theme park where all the games are VR, right?
Yeah.
And some of the games you're interacting, like a shooting game, for example, but some of the games you're just observing, and some of the games you're like, for example, there's a roller coaster where you wear a VR headset.
Yeah.
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 And my dad actually went on that, and he said it was just too much. It was next level. I think you're supposed to be in a plane or on a drone or something like that, and you're flying all around Dubai, all around the buildings, and it's like obviously your body is telling you one thing and that your eyes are telling you the other, you know, your sense of gravity and all that, versus what you're seeing. It's all working together to give you this crazy experience. The best games that I remember, there was one shooting game where I think it's like one team is robbing a bank and one team stopping them. And it's like you were saying, you're in a room, a small room, where you've got the headset on and you've got those Vive hand control or whatever things, right?
Yeah.
And I think so. There are cameras all in the room, and they detect where the hand controllers are and where your head is, right? And so it knows where you're looking. When you look around, it knows where you're looking, and therefore it can relay that on your screen. And so you kind of I guess one of the controllers, like say your left hand, would be for aiming, and the other is to pull the trigger. So it's like a very natural movement for shooting at people. And I think you physically like get up and down, like you duck to like hide behind cover. Like very natural, bro. Like it's not like you pick up a PlayStation controller and you're like, you know how like older people, whatever, they're like, they keep looking at the controller. Oh, where's the circle? Where's the X? It's not like that. It's you just go straight into it because you're just moving your body, and you look at your hands and you see a gun. You know, it's sick. So that game was really good, one of the best ones. But maybe better than that was this King Kong game, where you're King Kong, you're hanging on a building, and there are all these planes coming to attack you. Okay, and you're it's hard to describe, but imagine a circle, okay, on the floor, and that's like your platform where you're allowed to play in. It's quite a small area, right? And in the middle of this circle is a pillar, like a metal pillar. So imagine the pillar, you put your back to the pillar to know like where the edge is, if you like.
Yeah.
And you're allowed, if you step off that circle, then you're going to fall down. So you've got to stay in that area. Now imagine you're in the VR world and you look down and you see like the bottom going down the skyscraper, and there's all these planes coming, and you've got to like you've got the controllers in your hand again, and so you can like hit the planes or hit the different enemies coming at you. That one, bro, is just freaky, bro, because you look down and you're seeing like a sheer drop, and you really like you doubt, honestly, you doubt your senses. You doubt, like you really feel deep down that if you step one step further, you're gonna fall. Like really, I felt truly like that. And some people that did it, like family that I was with, they couldn't hack it. Like it was, they really just felt like I'm gonna fall. Like it's too scary, you know what I mean? So that was my experience, and playing these games. It's honestly so sick. When I first left that VR park, I thought, you know what, like I need to buy one of these things, like this HTC Vive. I was like, this is it. Although you notice that they're plugged into some super powerful computers, I think, right?
Yeah, generally, yeah.
And actually, in the shooting game, I remember we had to wear a backpack which had the computer in it.
Oh, so this is, that's what I was going to ask you. Is this the one where they superimpose the level on top of a terrain that already exists in the real world?
No, it was a plain room, really, with cameras.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I saw one, maybe it was in America, where so imagine all the cover and the walls and the doors and stuff like that. That's actually that does exist within this big hall.
Yeah, but it's
However, it's
got
all
like
grey
a
and blank.
lick of
It's
paint
all
on it. Yeah,
yeah, it's all like a blank thing. But
yeah,
when you
yeah.
put the VR,
Yes.
because they've got cameras everywhere, they superimpose texture all over
Yeah,
them.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
okay,
yeah.
that doorway is actually a pane
Yeah,
of
yeah,
glass, or that
yes,
you know,
yeah. It
and
makes
then
me
you're
think
actually
of the
moving.
Amazon Go. I think it's called Amazon Go stores, where it's
All
like
right.
it's like a shop where there's no staff really. You just walk in.
Yeah.
In order to walk in, you scan your Amazon barcode or something that's linked
Yep.
to your account. You
Yeah.
walk in, grab anything off the shelf, and it puts it in your virtual basket, and you walk
Yeah.
out, and it will charge you. So it's
Yeah.
like I don't know if it's the same. I think that the Amazon thing is way more advanced because you're not wearing a headset or anything to track you per
Yeah.
se.
But what the
Yeah,
cool thing is about this is like if you were to walk into like a I don't know a piece of cover, knee high cover, whatever,
yeah,
you'll see it in the game, but it actually exists in the real world. So when you
yeah.
press up against it, you can feel it and it's
Yes,
there,
yes, yes,
right?
yeah,
So it just doesn't look the way like for example, it hasn't got that texture or the lick of paint or whatever. It's just a blank wall,
yeah, yeah,
made of maybe styrofoam or something.
yeah. Are there
So
any of those kind of things in London?
I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure. I wouldn't be surprised if they eventually work
This
on
is
getting
like one
there.
of the sickest activities. Like if they have a really advanced one in London and it costs
Yeah.
like £50 or whatever, yeah, that's worth it. Like once a
Well,
year or something. Like it's really good.
the thing is, right? Um, this is like it's on its arcade phase, like the video games had their arcade phase. We had to go somewhere and do this thing,
Yeah.
and then you could, leave. And arcades don't really exist like they used to. If anything, they're like a novelty. But 60 years ago, that's what arcades were, right? Or maybe
Yeah,
even
yeah.
a bit longer.
Even today, bro, like in certain countries, there are internet cafes. Like because most people don't have computer at home, internet at home, or even video games at home, you go to a place to use the internet or to play games. When I was growing up, that's what we had because like the computer I would buy, it wouldn't. For example, we wouldn't be able to play on the internet. Okay,
Yeah.
we only play against bots. Especially in the UAE, like the internet wasn't that good back then and all that. So in order to actually play networked, you have to go to a internet cafe where they've got like 50 computers and it's all connected and you play. Actually, I used to play with my friends physically. Like they'd be sitting next to me. That was quite fun. That's quite a good experience, Yanni, because you're still with the people in person.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you're saying, that was like the arcade phase. Like you physically go to a place to play games, or
Yeah.
even here, bro. Like in Istanbul, there's a cafe where they have PlayStations and kids can't play together. I don't know if that's because they can't afford it, or I don't think in this area it's because they can't afford it. It's just like maybe more of a social thing.
There is this existentialism with it all, though. It's like what is real and what isn't anymore. You know, I can't remember. There was like isn't it? I can't remember. It's like Theseus' ship. There's like an analogy about Theseus' ship. Have you ever heard of that? Where they
No.
replace. Okay, so I'm gonna botch up the story, but the concept. I'll give you the concept. It's like there's a ship, okay, and let's name it Theseus' ship, and I keep repairing the ship. So each day, for example, I replace one thing with something else. So a piece of wood that was Theseus' ship, I replace it with another piece of wood.
Ah,
Okay, and I keep replacing all the parts of the ship until one day there's not a single part of the ship left that was, the original.
got it.
Is that still the same ship or not?
Okay.
Is
Yeah.
that Theseus' ship or not?
Okay.
And it kind of reminds me of that in terms of reality. Like, okay, I replace your senses with this world, and then I replace your touch with this, and I replace your hearing with this, and I replace everything with this. At what point is that real and that not? I mean, one could argue in a roundabout way that even this world now isn't real, because it's the dunya, and actually the real veil will be lifted for the afterlife, right?
Red
That's one
pill,
way.
bro.
Yeah, that's one. When people talk about the original red pill concept in Islam and the Matrix, that's what they kind of talk about. So if this model of the future was to go untouched for God knows how long, and we do plug in to some sort of thing, are the crimes and sins and whatever you commit in there, do they count? Like when I play a video game now and I kill a NPC character,
Yeah.
maybe I'm not getting Satan for that. Maybe I am. Allah knows best, right? But then if it gets to a point where you're actually most of your life or all of your life is there. Yeah, and I remember actually, I know this is like far off and maybe too existential and maybe it's a waste of time asking these questions, but But I did remember like looking this up, like in a video game, like with choices. Like there's a lot of video games where you have branching storylines, and if you're going to be a good guy or a bad guy, like if I pick the bad option,
Hmm.
not because I'm a bad guy, I'm just curious of what's going to happen. But does that count? Like, am I a bad guy for doing that? Like, these innocent people just died because I pushed a button in a game. Like,
Have you
and I know
seen
it's just
Have you seen that video where the kid, American kid, he's like 10 years old. He took
right,
he stole his grandmother's pickup truck. You've seen it?
right.
No?
No.
Bro,
Go
this
on.
kid, okay. No, he must be younger than 10. I can't remember, yeah. This kid, yeah. He took his grandmother's pickup truck, he drove it and he crashed it, yeah. And she got to pay to fix it and all of that. Then it's like an American TV, local TV, like news story. And then they're interviewing him afterwards. They're like, "Did you realize you could hurt some people doing that?" And then he's like, "Yeah." And then they're like, like, "So why did you do it?" "I don't know. Fun to do bad things." That's why you pick the character, bro.
This is it, man.
Fun to do bad things.
I mean, like, I am quite a pessimist with the future. Like, I don't think we're gonna. Allah knows best what the future holds, and obviously we have our signs that are prophesized for us, right? I just don't think that we're gonna reach the level that they're anticipating of like full on plug in. That's the rest of your life, or if it is, it'll be such a minority, or maybe that is the precursor to like those big signs, right? Because there'll be no one left that can handle the real world, right?
Well,
Because
I don't. I think it's just a matter of time. Why not? Like right now, yeah. Um, it's absolutely possible to create a whatever you want to call it, a hub world where we can, like Mark Zuckerberg has demonstrated it, okay, already,
yeah,
right? Where you're sitting in a virtual room with someone, you've got an avatar, and you're looking ahead and you see someone else's avatar, and you're talking to them, and they can hear you, you can hear them, you're having a conversation, okay? So it's already there. Yes, like me and you could be recording this podcast. Technically, we could be recording this podcast just like that. Okay,
nice.
and we could have like hundreds of people in this room listening to the podcast being recorded. You know, like a live event kind of thing. That is 100% technically possible right now, but it's not mainstream because I don't find it appealing enough that I'm going to spend hours and hours in that kind of world. Okay. So therefore, the only thing is, can we make it more appealing, right? And that's where the sense of touch, and that's where the enough people being on it, and all of that comes in. So I would argue it, like technologically, it's not far away whatsoever. The thing I feel is more of a distance is people's the appeal, right? Okay, the sense of touch, that's difficult. Obviously, we've been working on the sense of touch. I think it's called haptics, and people have been
Yeah,
working on haptics for decades on phones, right? The whole vibration thing, and that's what Isa was saying in Quranly, that when you press, I think, to go to the next ayah, it gives you that little haptic feedback, that little vibration, which triggers something in your mind to make you feel more satisfied with going to the next ayah, which makes it slightly addictive, you could say, right? So people have been working on haptics for decades. I believe it's a whole specialism, and so you could say that we're going to get there where you can feel touch, okay? But even without the feeling, I can see it just being, even if it's not a whole metaverse, it could just be the next generation of social media.
but some of the barriers you're mentioning is making me think of video games, and a lot of it is just the adoption of next generations. Like,
Yeah.
way more kids play video games now than maybe the adults that are still around. Um, and this technology would be way faster adopted by kids that grow up in it. Like, think about it, they would be like, oh, put this into schools, and we can teach this and that, and then
Yeah.
kids will be like, okay, that's their exposure to it, and boom, I want this at home. My
Yeah.
first exposure to Microsoft Paint was at school, and I remember
Mm-hmm.
I drew a Pikachu on, no, it was a
Yeah.
Raichu actually, specifically on the computer, and I printed it out, and I was like, yo, this is awesome. And that was it. Like, I just started using Paint, and then when it came to IT class, started using Photoshop, um, stuff like that. So here we are, and I think that's where the bulk of it is going to come naturally through just a generational shift.
Yeah, like many things for sure. But yeah, I was just thinking as well, bro. You know, haptics. The new PlayStation controller has a deeper level of haptics built into the sticks, I think, right?
It does,
Where,
yeah. I've got it over
where,
there actually.
yeah, if you what you can explain it better than me. There's
Yeah,
some
so
resistance in it or something.
there's the triggers. So in a normal controller, the triggers have some natural resistance anyway, right?
Okay, yeah,
So you pull the trigger, and it just has a comfortable bit of resistance, just so you know that you're pulling a trigger. With that, it's adaptable in a way that the pressure it takes to push it can change based on what the
the
developer
context of the
wants.
game.
Yeah, the context of the game. So like I could pick up a gun, for example, and I don't know, it's a particular gun. It's a heavy, I
Shotgun.
don't know, something like that. It will take a bit more, and they've just it will just custom basically based on what you're doing on the screen.
Yeah.
I must admit, I've turned them off on mine only because when I first bought the
Old
PlayStation,
man, bro. I don't want the new
no,
technology.
it wasn't even that. No, when I first bought the PlayStation, I was playing something that was using it, and then it just at one point it just snapped. I heard it like go,
Oh.
and then there was literally no resistance whatsoever. So even the normal resistance had gone. So I was like, right. I went and sent it off to repair. When I got it back, I just turned that setting off. I was like, that's it. I'm not
Ah.
risking this like snapping again.
50 pound controller, yeah.
This is it. I think it's a bit more, to be honest.
Wow.
But this is it. So there is that. They're always exploring new technologies. I remember when the Wii came out,
Oh
the
yeah,
Nintendo
yeah.
Wii,
Yeah.
and that blew people away in terms, even like casual, people that weren't even gamers.
Yeah.
That's where it appealed the most.
Yeah.
They called it a blue ocean strategy. I was looking at obviously the
Mm.
industry at the time, and they were saying how like, oh, we're only selling to gamers. Like we need to try and appeal to people that don't play games,
Yes.
and they hit it out of the park with that
Yeah.
because you picked up the remote and you just knew how to play tennis. Like that was it.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
and that's all. The majority of people only played that in terms of casual gamers, right?
Yeah.
But
That's a
look, there is,
good business book, by the way.
yeah.
Blue Ocean Strategy.
Oh, I didn't even know it was. I just thought it was a concept, not a book. But there you go.
Mm.
But it does. It shows there are benefits. I'm not going to deny that there are benefits. I think we do focus on the extremes and we do focus on the negatives of any sort of situation. I was listening to an audiobook which I hadn't listened to in ages, called "Notes on a Nervous Planet"
Okay.
by, I think it's either Matthew Craig or Matthew Haig. Let me just Google it. Notes on a Nervous Planet, Matt Haig. And it's a follow-up to Matt Haig's internationally best-selling memoir, Reasons to Stay Alive, a broader look at how modern life feeds our anxiety and how to live a better life. The societies we live in are increasingly making our minds ill, making it feel as though the way we live is engineered to make us unhappy, yada, yada, yada. I can't remember how far I'd got into the book before. I clearly lost interest and I didn't carry on playing. And I think mainly because it was talking about a lot of mental health issues that I not necessarily could relate to. And then today I was trying to assemble a bed out of all things, and I'd finished my last audiobook, and I remember I've got like an hour or two left of this one. Let me just click play. As soon as it started, bro, I don't know why, but the chapter it was on and beyond was just super relevant. It was talking about he started moving on to like social media anxiety. He started moving on to like just anxieties in general. He started moving on to like how unnatural the world is and how from maybe an evolutionary perspective, but even from a fitra perspective, right? We're not necessarily living in the most natural way. So of course our bodies are going to react in adverse ways. One query, and I don't know what chapter it was, but he was talking about how a lot of panic attacks for people who suffer with panic attacks tend to be in supermarkets. That's like the onset. He said that he gave an anecdote of like this one woman he knew. She'd only ever had one panic attack, but it happened to be in a supermarket. And he speaks about how the supermarket, even from an evolutionary perspective, if you want to go down that road, but also a fitra perspective, is the most unnatural sort of setting you can imagine. So to obtain food, like it's all packaged up, it's all aisled up. Even the food itself isn't necessarily like growing on a tree or, part of your produce and you've made it or whatever. And it's all lined up and you're with loads of other people and you're pushing a trolley and all these colors and all these lights and all these refrigerators. And it's so mechanical and so
Very
and like the
stimulating. Yeah.
yes, and all the choice and everybody, all these things are competing for your attention. Then you got imagine you've got the blaring sort of deal checkout lady, whatever, in the speakers, and you've got the checkout noises, and then actually he spoke about this bit about the roboticization of like the checkout aisle, and how like this just robot is just screaming at you like unexpected item in the bagging area, and he just keeps saying that
Yeah.
because he gave an example of like let's think for a second if we took a cave woman, for example, or something like that, or a woman from 5,000 years ago, and just we cryogenically froze her and then unfroze her in a supermarket aisle, go and get some food. She'd just be freaking out and screaming at everything because it's so unnatural. You know what's going on. So his theory is like, with all of that kind of unnatural stimuli, no wonder people have panic attacks there, because something in their body is just like screaming about how this just doesn't make any sense. And it makes sense from if you were to adopt the evolutionary perspective, how quickly technology has advanced compared to how much the human mind and body has changed. Not at all, really, right? I remember coming across a article in a newspaper. It was like a comic in a newspaper once about evolution, and they were saying how like, oh, this will be humans in 2100, and their fingers were going to be super long because they text so much and all this stuff. And clearly, we don't ascribe to that in terms of human beings. But it did make me think about all these things have changed around us, and we are very much still the same kind of human beings.
Although the technology is supposed to be adapting to us, it's supposed to be making things easier and better for us.
Yes, we say that, and I appreciate that. But then what I started thinking is, from a business perspective, businesses don't care about that. Businesses, and he mentions that slightly, but I was thinking like businesses don't care about making things better for us. They care ultimately they care about the money. Okay, so unless we know what's good for us, it doesn't matter. It could be something that they'll sell to you that is good for you in the short term, but in the long term it'll be awful for you.
Yes.
But they don't care too much about managing that. They care about making that buck now. And the person on top of that organization, they're concerned about the near future. Their near future isn't as much as they're concerned about 100 years from now, 1,000 years
100%.
from now.
Yeah.
So it goes with anything. Like look at the climate crisis, for example. All these politicians, whatever, and they all meet for this global summit about climate and all this stuff. Well, maybe they'll make sure the world doesn't implode in the next 20, 30 years because they'll still be here. But 1,000 years from now, 100 years from, I don't care about that too much. That's their problem, and that's basically the way societies live and businesses work and operate.
Yes. And that's like the analogy of the dunya and the akhirah. People make choices for the dunya, but the akhirah is khayran wa abqa.
Absolutely.
So that's the juggling act with everyone's doing, really, isn't it?
I read a really scary kind of article. Not that we're scared of death, not at all. But I'm talking about they were talking about like microplastics and how microplastics are everywhere, right? And there was a study that finally, like a breakthrough study that finally showed the negative impacts microplastics have on humans. That we've all got it in us, but this was the first study to highlight the negative impacts that it has, and it just made me think of just all these floating foreign objects within our bodies right now, tiny microscopic plastics that just aren't dissolving, that aren't going away, that are literally everywhere, and you just have no idea that they're in there. Like, bro, I just had a cup of coffee now, and there was obviously a manufacturing process to make that coffee, to make the granules, to get the sugar, all this sort of stuff. And then you just think of the stuff that's in there that just won't go away, let alone the actual plastics that we are part of food or part of toothpaste or part of toothbrushes or whatever it is.
Delicious.
And it's all in there, bro. And it's just like, I combine that with like thoughts about cancer, thoughts about how cancers are coming up, thoughts about all these amrad, all these illnesses that just come out. The world surely is, bro, that place right now where there's just fasad everywhere, not just in like people's actions, but even in the subtleties of just the way we live that we don't understand. That's destroying us, right? But is it escapable? I don't know. I was looking. I know I keep going from one thing to another, but I was looking at Sharif's Instagram page
Okay.
this past week, been following quite
The
a lot of
Muslim
stuff.
homesteader.
Muslim homesteader, who we've had a couple of times on the podcast, you know, and I was like, subhanAllah, look at what a way to live and how beautiful that is. But at the same time, I was like, but I'm looking at this on Instagram, which means he's got Instagram, which means there's a level of connection that he has with technology that obviously it might be healthy for him, but at the same time, it doesn't mean that he's completely cut off from the world in that way.
Yeah.
So it's like, can you really escape it? You know? So it's really interesting.
You know, but I see this whole metaverse concept as the same as you could say like social media. Okay.
Yep.
Like I've mentioned, the games are sick. Okay. So the games are sick. The games are better than like PlayStation games, right? Because I feel like more people can play them. And it's more natural, it's more intuitive, it's more fun, I would say, right? I haven't played these games for like hours, but you know, it seemed like, yeah, I can see this being, it felt more like playing paintball than playing, you know, FIFA on a PlayStation. You know what I mean? It felt more like a real life activity. Which I think is more stimulating and therefore more fun. But anyway, I see all the benefits. Like we mentioned, the games are better. We mentioned staying in touch with people. Like you're saying that your son recognized his uncle, was it right?
Yeah.
All of this, yeah. I'm living in Turkey. I'm in touch with my parents. This, all that, yeah. So there are all these benefits that we can clearly see individually. Okay, so individual benefits. There is an overall negative effect, no doubt. And the thing is, yeah, that we enter into this using this technology. It starts with, you know, maybe once a month, and then it goes to basically every few minutes, right? So that's how we move into using it. Once we use it every single day for hours, maybe for every minute of our life, you know, you know, the metaverse could be like that, right?
Yeah.
Once it gets like that, you can't escape the negatives, right? And often it's designed so that you come for those individual benefits, but you can't leave to get away from the negatives, right? And so that's why, for example, I don't have Instagram. I don't have Twitter because I was like, there's the benefit, right, that I just already discussed, and the listeners know the different benefits of these things, but I can't separate the benefit from the negative, right? So I'm just going to ditch it all, okay? Yeah. I could argue the same about YouTube. Like I use YouTube quite a bit. I could argue that, okay, there are individual benefits. The overall negative is I'm exposed to XYZ ideas, wasting time, blah, 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 yeah? So I could say, look, I'm going to ditch it all. I guess, but what most people do, because most people are not like me, where they jump off these platforms. Most people have some level of presence. Most people are like, look, the benefits are good, and they just maybe they hope that the negatives are not going to have this terrible effect on their life, and they continue with it, right? But what happens overall, I think, is that it takes over, basically. It takes over and you don't notice it, right? So, you know, like where Facebook themselves, they did their study on the effect of Instagram on a certain age group of girls, and they found that it negatively affects their mental well-being, right? Like it's a conclusive result from real research, like a proper, well-done study, yani. So they made that own conclusion. Obviously, that wasn't supposed to leak, but it got leaked. And then they kind of, all this stuff came out about it. So those girls got the benefits, the individual benefits, but they couldn't escape the negative side, and they probably didn't even realize the negative was there, right? So my conclusion, bro, is really like, a lot of the time, if you just think deeply about like your purpose in life, your goals in life, what you're trying to actually do, what your responsibility is and isn't in this life, the conclusion for me is a lot of the time, like, yeah, the benefits are not worth it. It's not big enough. It's not, you know, like for example, speaking, how do I say this? I was thinking about it. Yeah. If I get to speak to my uncles, for example, in Algeria that I haven't seen for years, by just calling them on WhatsApp. Yeah. Is that worth the negatives, right? Would we be better off where just wherever we live, that's who we know, that's who we interact with, and when we interact with them, it's face to face, and you can see all the body language, you can see the emotion in the face, you can see, there's the real life dynamics of, oh, I passed them in the street, and I can't just like quickly close my WhatsApp so that they don't see I'm online. I feel like these elements are real. Yani, there's benefits to them, even though there's inconvenience to them, right?
Yeah.
So we take all the WhatsApp world, the digital world, staying in touch with people, or we take the old school way, you could say, which ultimately is better. Now, I know on the surface, like we're saying, the short term is that we think, yeah, I can call my uncle, I can stay in touch, blah, 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 silat rahim, all of this. But honestly, my conclusion is that it's probably, overall, it's probably negative, but I'm still not like, come on, I'm not going to tell my mom, I'm not going to call you and this and that. But this is kind of my thinking. And so just if I apply that to Metaverse, I would say the Metaverse is going to come with all these benefits, right? But overall, and this is where I think the Metaverse, obviously we have to see how it's actually going to pan out, right? But the Metaverse has the potential to do a lot more damage than just, your mental well-being, making you feel, bulimic or whatever it is. It has I feel like huge potential for negatives. But I'll stop talking and we'll go into that later, inshallah.
No, I mean, just another concept to add to what you mentioned about calling your uncle and that technology being overwhelmingly beneficial. One concept I thought of was there's certain things we can't cope with anymore that are completely natural just because technology exists. And I'll give you examples such as death, right? Imagine a time where you would forget what somebody looks like, someone close to you looks like, because of the passing of time. Okay, so let's say, for example, I don't know, your mother dies. Okay, your mother dies and you're 15 years old, right? By the time you're 50, and I kid you not, there will be features of your mother's face that you just can't really remember. And I know that sounds impossible, but that is the reality. Like, there are things that you just can't remember because you don't have a reference to the human mind. The memory doesn't work in a way that we think it does now, because we just see a picture and we're like, oh yeah, I remember that, like it was yesterday. I remember studying in psychology where they were talking about how a lot of I studied psychology for 3 years. I completely forget sometimes, but in lesson they were talking about a lot of memory that we have isn't real. It's just based on
filling
pictures and
gaps,
videos, filling gaps, and we just assume that's it. And like they said, one trick is, like, if you think of a memory that you've got, if you're looking at yourself in third person in that memory, then it's not a real memory. You've internalized that or adopted that from a photo or a video, right? So
and that's why sometimes people will remember an event differently, because everyone's mind has filled in the gaps with their own made up thing.
Yeah, absolutely. But also, like, I remember, like, for the longest of times, I used to think I could remember my second birthday. I was like, yeah, I remember my second birthday. I got this and I got that, and I was there. No, there was a video of it, a home video, and there's photographs. And I've because for me to remember my second birthday so vividly is very, very, there's a slim chance in that regard. So, coping with loss, they say time heals all wounds, but does it heal all wounds when you can keep opening those wounds up with pictures and and images of that person and videos? Like, like at the moment my dad's really sick, and everybody knows my dad, is really sick and he's got cancer, etc. And I can't help but like just stare through photos and videos till my mum told me off, actually. She was just like, you need to stop doing this because you're just upsetting yourself. And maybe I was upsetting myself. I was getting really upset looking at videos and pictures of my dad, because I was like, oh, look, he was so healthy. He can't even leave the house now. I'm looking at pictures of when I was a kid, and I'll share them sometimes on Instagram and stuff like that. But like, why am I doing that? I'm making myself more upset. But there's something there about stepping into the past and experiencing it. I mean, bro, I remember coming across some sort of there was definitely like somebody had lost their kid, like some parents had lost their child. And when I say child, like a teenage child or something like that, and someone visually recreated them in like VR using AR technology and all this
I
stuff.
remember that,
God, then that just makes me think now, subhanAllah, about bringing the dead back to life. Like, if you had like so much video footage, I've got so much video footage of, my kids or my wife or whatever on my phone, like I've got a whole terabyte on the cloud of space, so I could theoretically fill that up, give that to somebody, deepfake some videos, and put that on a VR thing. Put a girl, there you go. Get an AI thing on top of that. You're good to go, bro. You can have a conversation with, your dead partner for. So it's just like, that's the kind of stuff that worries me, because we are supposed to let go. There's a lot of things that we're supposed to be detached to. Connecting people all the time, like we do now, just assuming that connecting people is unilaterally good in every single in context is like, ooh, is it?
It's difficult though. The problem is, of course, it's difficult to say, no, I don't want to be able to call my uncle. It sounds wrong to say that, or bad to say that, especially because we can't very clearly and tangibly explain the negatives of access to that technology. But we're assuming it's there, right? It's hard for us to explain it. And one thing I was trying to say, which I wasn't able to, is that you would get maybe 90% of the benefit of Instagram from using it, say, 15 minutes a day. But nobody uses it 15 minutes a day. And that's what I feel like this metaverse will be like, where whatever benefits you could get from it, you'll get from it in 15 minutes, maybe an hour a day. But people may end up spending their entire lives in it. Yeah. Right? So who's benefiting when you go beyond that 1 hour a day? Shaitan, perhaps.
It is curious, isn't it? I'm trying to think of developments of how social media has changed for our lives, and there was a period of time where I did use social media to meet new people. I've reached the point now where I'm not interested in meeting anybody new. I've got a decent group of friends.
That's definitely a sign of getting old, bro.
But no, like, age differs, bro. Like, there's people that are my age, no doubt, that are still trying to, create social circles and meet new people. And, there's people, for example, right now, today, that have just started practicing, right? Just like maybe I was back in 10 years ago. No group of friends that are practicing around them. Who do they connect with? Because at the end of the day, being a Muslim on your own is a really lonely experience, especially reverts, for example. Who do you connect with? Where do you go? How do you do that? There's reverts right now in towns that maybe they're the only Muslim in that whole city or that whole town, whatever you want to call it. Do they live the rest of their life like without knowledge or without experience or without connecting with anybody else, whatever? So yeah, those benefits are incredible. Those benefits are really important. I don't know if every person has the strength and the personal responsibility to weigh those up in an adequate manner to say, like you've said, in terms of weighing up, okay, the positives are like this, negatives are like this. Can I really deal with all of those? I think there is going to have to be a lot of like self-reflection on it. Like, I look at my social media use now, and I'm like, can I justify this? Like, what am I doing with this? Where is it going? And Allah knows best. And I think a lot of it is, for me, is like, oh, well, there was always periods where I want to start a new project or whatever. So having a base platform is quite useful in that regard. Without that.
But this is the thing, bro. I feel like the people who win, people who beat social media, you could say, they win at the game of social media. I feel like they're the people like, I'll just say Tim Ferriss, because he mentioned how he does his social media. Bro, Tim Ferriss has like millions of followers on all these different platforms, right? He doesn't use them, right?
Yeah.
He has either a software or an assistant post on his behalf, and he has a software interface between him and the actual platform. So if he's replying to someone's comment, he's not doing it on Instagram. He's doing it through another software, which blocks him from getting sucked into Instagram itself, right? I feel like those are the people who are winning at it, because like you're saying, they're getting the benefits of the platform, right? They're building a platform for themselves there where they can reach people and build audience and all that, but they're not getting sucked into consuming everything that's on there.
Yeah. But my issue with that, and I think we mentioned this before on Mind Heist, is the hypocrisy of it. Remember when we mentioned this? I'm sure we mentioned this.
Yeah.
So
I want like, your attention, but I won't give my attention.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, I don't want to look at the timeline. I just want to put my stuff on there.
Yes.
But you better look at the timeline, otherwise you're not going to see my stuff. Yes. So it's that kind of. Because if everybody adopted that mentality, then there wouldn't be any social media.
There wouldn't, yeah. But ultimately, obviously I'm still got a lot to learn, but my thinking right now is that, me deeply connecting with 20 people in real life on a regular basis would be more beneficial to them. Let's say I'm going to bring some
Yeah.
sort of benefit to people. That would be more beneficial to the world than doing it online to 2,000
So
people, perhaps.
so the healthier option, which is I want to where I'd like it to go, and I'm seeing signs of this, is the removal of the social stats, removal of the numbers game, removal of those things that do create the anxieties. One feature I've learned to use is likes. You can hide likes on posts. So whenever I can, I'd get rid of that, right? And now that is because I want to be part of that solution where these numbers shouldn't mean anything anymore. Um, I don't like I don't like the followers numbers on there and the post numbers on there and the following. Like, why does that matter to anyone? That shouldn't matter. That shouldn't matter at all. All of it, I can't see any benefits of that actually at all in any regard, because the person whose account it is, all they're seeing is, oh, my followers aren't as much as this person's or that person's, so forget all the content. That doesn't matter anymore. And then the person who sees that is going to get jealous of the high number as well. So where's the positive there? Like, what positive do I get from seeing how many thousands of followers you've got?
It's a
I don't
it's a signal as to whether I have something worth following.
know, because you can get that yourself from just going through
Yeah,
their
but then you
thing.
have to go through it. It's a
That's it. You go through
shortcut.
it once,
It's a
and it's.
shortcut.
I think I don't
It's
know. I
but the
think
thing is, bro, like this. I know what you're saying, but this existed before Instagram existed. Like if you go to the class of Ahmed bin Hanbal and you see thousands of people there, that is a
yeah.
signal, right? It's something that allows you to perk up your ears and say, okay, let me see what he's saying. Okay, okay, wow, yeah, okay, good, okay, nice. That's what it is, right? It's a signal that then directs you to maybe listening closer. And
Maybe.
it's needed ever more than ever, because you've got millions of accounts you could follow. In real life, you don't have millions of classes you could attend or millions
Yeah.
of people you could get close to. But online, there are millions of accounts, and so we need some way of filtering. Okay, who should I take seriously or who should I not? Having said that, there's no doubt loads of people who have 100 followers who have amazing posts that you would enjoy more,
Mm.
but that's the collateral damage of filtering systems, Yani.
Maybe. I mean, I use, so for a lot of inspiration, like in terms of Photoshop and stuff and graphic design, I use Tumblr a lot for that. And I know Tumblr's a dead social media for a lot of people, but because it's so visual based and artists and photographers don't ever found a place there, you can't see how many followers somebody has. You can't see that at all. So the way I discover people's content on there is I go on the discovery thing, right? And an algorithm kind of throws stuff at me. I'm like, oh, I like that. I'll either reblog it or like it, whatever it is. Then I'll just click on their account and see what other stuff. And I'm like, okay. Or it shows me a preview of like 3 or 4 posts in a little box. I'm like, oh, I like those. That kind of person is sharing the kind of stuff I like. I'll follow them. And actually, I realized like I follow like over 1,000 people on Tumblr, but I wouldn't know that because you have to go into the settings to look for that. But that isn't. You can change whether people see that or not. But I can't see anybody how many people following anyone, right? Now, there's ways of sussing it out if they're popular or not by going into their original post and then seeing how many times their original post has been reblogged or whatever it is. And then you can say, okay, this person must have quite a lot because it's. But actually, one post could go viral and you wouldn't even know. So the and the thing about Tumblr again, which isn't so. I guess it's taken for granted, is that there's a culture of not using your profile picture is acceptable. Like not using a picture of yourself is acceptable. But doing that on Facebook or Twitter or even Instagram in a lot of ways isn't so accepted as much. Like back in the day, bro, on those forums, bro, I'm sure you existed on forums back
MySpace.
in the day. No, before, like pre MySpace, like I don't know, did you ever like browse forums back in the day? I remember I used to be on like the Nintendo game forum or something like that. And I used to just ask questions about particular games and stuff. Having a profile picture of yourself was considered awkward and weird. And even now, like, okay, if you've ever booted up a game console like a PlayStation or Xbox, having a photo of yourself as an avatar is very strange and uncomfortable because it's just weird. It doesn't feel right. It really doesn't feel right. And I remember recently that on the PlayStation they have like an option. So for close friends, you can have a particular photo, and then for everyone else, you can have another photo.
Okay.
So for everyone else, I had just some generic photo, and then even for close friends, I felt uncomfortable with my picture because I don't think video game, social, whatever you want to call it, has reached that level of like interpersonality. And it was Facebook that really pushed me to start putting profile pictures up. Because previously, bro, I just put whatever I wanted. Like, you know, I like scorpions. I put a scorpion picture up. I did that for a long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. So I don't know. It kind of went from there was a phase, and it must have been a phase, bro. Because the first idea of the internet was like you can be anyone you want, right? You can be Dragon Slayer 2053. And you had level 99 RuneScape account, and that's kind of what the internet was for.
Yeah.
Facebook came along and said, no, we want your face in this book. This is about you and who you are. So put who you work for, and put where you've worked and where you went to school, and all this data and how old you are, all this stuff that the internet didn't ask you before. Then it was suddenly yourself, right? The dawn of Facebook was probably really authentic version of yourself on the most.
Yeah.
And then suddenly, you start seeing other people's things, and you're like, oh, I don't like this person I am. Let me change that. Let's add a filter, and then let's add how many followers I got. Let's add my... And we've once again reverted to being anyone you wanted to be in a weird way. So...
Oh, right. I see what you mean, yeah.
You see what I mean? Like... Yeah. That the opportunity to then be ourselves has then allowed us to compare ourselves to other people on a level that we never did before.
Yes.
And now we just hate ourselves so much. We hate our real selves. We want to project a version of ourselves that isn't us, but still has links to us. So like this apps on your phone to like there's an app that I use to edit pictures, like filters and graphics and whatever. But there's also an option there called like beautiful. I don't know if it's called beautify or whatever, but like you can change the size of your nose, your cheekbones, your eye, how close your eyes are, how white your teeth are on this app. And I was like, oh my God, this is horrendous. But it does it with AI. So it does it, just by a slider. The metaverse, bro, is that on steroids in a way. You could recreate you could maybe do an image scan of yourself, throw yourself in the 3D world, and then be like, okay, change this a bit.
Yeah.
A bit overweight.
That would be interesting, bro. Like, will your avatar in the metaverse be similar to you but better, or will it be like you're a dragon? You know.
but it depends how you use it. So this is where the divide comes, because when we start talking about metaverse, we start talking about video games and VR, right?
Yeah, yeah.
When it comes to video games, and if you're playing video games and you're in that video game context, you will be a knight riding a dragon, or you will be a dragon yourself, or an alien, or whatever. That's goofy and it's crazy and it's wacky and it's great, right?
Yeah.
Do that. But then as soon as you go into, I want to socialize with real people, or I want to attract the opposite gender, because that's what a lot of social media is about, right?
Yes.
I need to be some resemblance of myself.
Yes, but better.
Just a bit better, but better, right? And it reminds me like all those catfish sort of stories, and I'm sure you've come across that catfish. So some of them are extreme, like completely ripped, taken photos from God knows where. They're clearly not the person they were on the photo, right? They're completely different people. Some of them, though, are just themselves, but a couple of
20-30% better. Yeah,
exactly. Oh, it's me, but I'm airbrushed. It's me, but my hair looks different. It's me, but I'm not as overweight, or I'm not as underweight, or whatever.
Yes,
that's where things get skewed. Because actually, bro, who is gonna be their real 100% self on? We're not even that now. Like, you post a picture on Instagram, it's like, well, the lighting's a bit off. And
like right now, you can't see what I'm wearing my pajamas. You can't see how messy our room is. You can't see.
I'm reasonably dressed, bro. These look like pajamas. These are proper trousers.
I don't actually have my pajamas on, but even though it looks like it's a video of us, I've got lighting on me. I've got like I don't know, like I've got all this rubbish on the table here, but you can't see it and all that.
Let's get real. Let's switch this off for a sec. Oh, look, I'm dark now. Whoa! Thought I had glowing skin. No. But it's true, man, and we like, even now, bro, we've got a confidence to speak to each other. But remember when we went live that one time, the mood changed, bro. Because we were being observed at that point. And suddenly you're like doing a show and stuff. It quickly dissipated, because the people that we have, alhamdulillah, Muslim, and I consider them our brothers and sisters and stuff. But do this on a stage in front of people you don't know.
Yeah.
Completely different environment, completely different.
Yeah. I think, bro, the you said about the how social media has changed over time. I think the biggest turning point was how powerful phones got and how fast internet got and how cheap mobile internet got. I think those things combined meant that you can use social media at every moment of the day. And I think that was the big changing point. Like, you know what you're talking about in terms of on Facebook, it's like became the real you and all that. If that was still limited to doing it on your computer, when you had time to sit aside and like go on it and do it, I think it will be a completely different world. I think the biggest tipping point has been mobile data and powerful phones and all of that. That's the fact that you can use it. Many people use it 5, 6, 7 hours a day. That has been what's changed everything. And that is what will, if it happens, that is what will make the metaverse the next level, is that you'll be able to spend 16 hours in metaverse, 8 hours not in metaverse sleeping. You know, that is what could be the way that it changes everything again, is that if you can be in it like nonstop, and that actually becomes your life, you know?
There was a video that you made me think when you said non-stop. I don't know how many hours he did it for, but it was some like, I think it was like 24 hours in VR or something like that.
I
And
think I might have come across that, yeah.
he went to sleep with, he spent a week. I spent a week with a VR headset on. I don't know if that's, 24 hours in the middle, that kind of thing.
Is there enough to even do?
Just put it on and just sleep. Wake up and you're straight away. Your eyes, you're looking at Skyrim or whatever you want to play. Like stuff like that, man. But you know what? Speaking about VR, let's talk about what's the alternative to VR, because there is this news story, and I don't know if you're familiar with a company called Niantic. Do you know Niantic?
No.
Because you'll be familiar with what their apps are. So one of the most popular apps Niantic ever made was Pokemon Go. All right, so they're the guys that developed it. Pokemon obviously is an IP that is owned by, well, it's kind of partly owned by Nintendo, but they're also their own thing. But Niantic are the developers of this particular game. And if for those that don't know, Pokemon Go did start. It basically started putting technology into the world as opposed to us going into the technology. All right, so it mapped out the world and it started putting Pokemon everywhere, and you walk around and catch them. But the key thing here is that what's it called? Augmented reality.
Yeah.
So you would see Pokemon through your camera screen. So if you'd point it like, okay, I'm pointing it out this wall. Oh, there's something in the wall. I can only see it through these lenses, which is the screen. And I'll catch it and whatever. And I don't know if anyone's seen Free Guy. There's a movie that came out recently called Free Guy. He's basically a video game character. He doesn't know he's in a video game, blah, 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 blah. But he puts on these glasses and suddenly all the heads-up display of the video game appears. So he puts on the glasses. Oh, he can see an item now. It's floating in front of him. Or he can see, a store sign or whatever. I was out with my mum in London not too long ago. And I opened Google Maps, trying to find the way. We were walking, trying to find a way to this location. And then it came up with like these arrows. I could see it in Street View, right? Live. Yes. So augmented reality does interest me. Like, I like that. That's cool.
Yeah, that's quite sick. Yeah.
It's not, I'm not going anywhere. It's just complementing the real world in a way. So I like that whole point you this direction, that direction to go somewhere. I like... even the gaming, whatever.
Yeah, Pokemon Go. I never played it, but it seemed like it would be a really good game.
Well, the benefit, in a way, when it was on its hype cycle, was getting out there, like exploring areas I'd never really been to before and walked around as much before. I was, bro, the height of it was like just before I got married. So I remember even like my quote unquote bachelor's night out, whatever you want to call it. I grabbed my cousin, I grabbed another friend of mine. We got on my little Renault Clio and we started driving around the city just looking for Pokemon. We went to like all these areas looking for Pokemon. And it was such a cool experience. Yeah. Because I was living out my like absolute childhood fantasy. Yeah. But like I was out, I was out in the real world, bro. Yeah. And, it's still there now. It's still got a player base now, but it definitely wasn't like it was.
I thought that was actually going to be a stepping stone to like all other developers jumping on it, but
there was. There was some others, but I think it quickly diluted. I know there was like a Jurassic Park one, there's a Harry Potter one, but when you
I
dilute it
think,
like that,
you know, when it went something, I know it kind of did go mainstream, but for something to truly go mainstream for the like medium long term, you unfortunately you need to like go for the lowest common denominator, right? Like TikTok is like literally. I was thinking about it the other day. Yeah, you know, if you have to scroll right to left, it's way more effort than scrolling up or down, right?
yeah,
So on TikTok, you scroll up and down, right?
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
TikTok, that's why they're like the winning platform right now, because they've reduced everything in terms of effort required. And so anything that requires the level of effort of Pokemon Go, it's not going to thrive. It's always going to be relatively niche, perhaps. But when you can play Pokemon Go as another character while lying in bed, you know, I can see how that
Maybe,
pops off
but,
more.
but if it was truly augmented reality, right?
Yeah.
Although you would look absolutely ridiculously stupid doing it,
Hmm.
having those goggles on and then seeing it all in front of you,
Hmm.
as the trailers kind of wanted it to be,
Yeah.
that's an experience. I mean, I know that Pokemon Go has like community days, so every month or so,
Hmm.
they have like a day where like it would just be this rare Pokemon and it'll be only that Pokemon, and then like you get shiny versions of it, and it's like meant to be a community, though. You know, it's a marketing thing, right?
Hmm.
But it seems to be on those community days that I noticed there are a lot of people playing it, and you can boot it up and you can see. I don't know how to explain it, but there's signs that there's loads of people playing it.
Hmm.
Um, and I remember back when it was kind of popular, I could tell when people were playing it just by how they were holding their phone. If you're holding your phone like this and you're going like that, because people
Yeah.
don't text like that or
Yeah.
whatever it is, and then I could just tell, bro. So on a community day as well, I would walk around and I'd be like, he's playing it. And then I kind of walk past and I'm like, yeah, he's right. Loads of people, bro. So but I tell you, just a quick little anecdote about meeting new people and stuff. There was a time where I did start playing it quite a lot, and I started meeting random people. Like, so you used to have these like team areas where you'd have to basically battle a boss, and if you could all beat the boss together, the more people you have, the easier the boss is going to be. So I remember getting in a Discord server and just seeing, oh, I want this particular Pokemon. It's going to be live at this particular time at this fountain. I'd
Hmm.
go down there, bro. It's just the weirdest people were there,
Hmm.
bro. Like I was like, oh my god, I'm talking about
Hmm.
weird people. I'm one of these people. I'm here now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I did that a couple of times, and I never really did that again because it was just
Yeah.
too weird for me. Because
Yeah.
I'm expecting to see people like me, people around my age, whatever. I found like this 70-year-old man, bro. He had a bicycle. He had weird hats on. He had loads of different horns on his bike, and he had these these tripods, but all up on his bike. So he had like multiple phones and stuff, and
Oh.
he was just and I was like, dude, you're old, man. Like, what's going on, dude? So it does drag out the weirdos of society, and I was clearly one of them. Maybe I still am.
It's
Um,
interesting, man. Interesting moment in time.
oh, wallah, wallah.
I got this article which I haven't read, but it's like the metaverse. What is it? What it is? Where to find it? And who will build it? Right. I just wanted to go to this. He's got 7 points, which is basically these points will define the metaverse. So the first one is it's persistent, which is to say that it never resets or pauses or ends. It continues indefinitely, right? Which is like social media, where the feed is being contributed to with or without you there, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Number 2, be synchronous and live. Even though pre-scheduled and self-contained events will happen, just as they do in real life, the metaverse will be a living experience that exists consistently for everyone and in real time. Okay, so again, that's kind of like, it's like social media again. It's not too different. Then number 3, it will be without any cap to concurrent users, while also providing each user with an individual sense of presence. So everyone can be a part of the metaverse and participate in a specific event, place, or activity together at the same time and with individual agency. So I guess unlike video games where, it's like 32 versus 32, there's limits and blah, blah. This is just like the whole planet, I guess, can be on it. Number 4, be a fully functioning economy. Individuals and businesses will be able to create, own, invest, sell, and be rewarded for an incredibly wide range of work, quote unquote work, that produces value that is recognized by others. So yeah, I guess this becomes a bit more unique now, where it's like someone was talking about real estate in the metaverse, right? Like how much, because if people are spending a lot of time in the metaverse, it means that the where you walk, right, could have value. Like where you go could have value, more value than other places. Who owns that? Can you buy it? Can you rent it? Right. Then you've also got the concept of attention. So if I'm in the metaverse a lot, it means I'm paying attention while I'm there, which means there's going to be ads to sell, right, to show in front of me. And now that's virtual thing. That's like a social media feed kind of ad, but the ad space is like vastly more unlimited kind of thing. So economy is kind of crazy, yeah, and that's where you get these kind of video game elements being borrowed, where you've got these virtual coins and all of that.
Yeah.
Number
I mean, they're
five,
selling land,
yeah.
aren't they? Yeah.
I mean, you know, this guy that bought the Beeple $69 million NFT.
Oh,
He said that he's gonna make it into a 3D version of the NFT or something, which will be a statue in basically the metaverse, and people are going to pay to visit it in a museum. It's crazy.
I hate it. I hate
Crazy.
it so much. I saw somebody bought an article about somebody buying land for like $500,000 just to be Snoop Dogg's neighbor in the metaverse. But that's
Yeah.
it's life, or art imitates life, whatever you want to call it. Like to get a mansion in Beverly Hills or whatever next to some celebrity, it's going to cost money as well. So why not have the same thing in the digital space?
Yeah.
So
But the only thing is, like, obviously in real world, there's limits to land and stuff. Like in the metaverse, why couldn't Snoop Dogg have 5,000 neighbors? Because it's like, I don't know, couldn't there just be...
they're still constrained by the dunya's reality.
How?
They're still constrained by 3D because you can't go into the fourth dimension. If you have a house that's a square, I mean, you could have maybe.
I mean, why
a
can't
house
we just have
sides.
like plots of land on top of each other? And if that's my plot of land, right, I might have 500 people above me, but I can't see them just because,
This is it. This is what I mean. We're trapped by the
It's-
perspectives. It just shows you. Look,
warped.
despite ultimately, this is what I was going to say at the start, but maybe now's a good time to say it. All of this is just chasing a concept of Jannah that we can't get. Like it's the subconscious within us to make Jannah on earth, right? It reminds me of, I can't remember what lecture it was, but they were giving a tafsir about the Quran and talking about gardens underneath which rivers flow, and he was mentioning how, why do we like waterfalls so much? Why do we always want water features in our houses and water features? And it's like something within us, bro, calls to that. Why do we just like we feel at peace when we see greenery and vegetation and you know what I mean, like ripe fruit and all of these things? It's something within us, bro. So all of these things, these fitra elements, we're just trying to recreate them in we want that instantaneous, like how we speak about Jannah, we speak about how you want something and it's just there. We don't even say it. Like, well, this is the same thing. We're just trying to get to that stage where, we want something. I want to see something in the metaverse. Boom, it's there. It takes a bit of loading time, but it's there. But you're still constrained. And this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about Jannah, it's something that no eye has ever seen, and because we are trapped within this framework of this dimension that we live in, where we can't be in two places at once. Even in the metaverse, you can't do this and that at one time. You can't do 100 things at once. Like, I have it in my head that in Jannah, I could probably do 10, 20 things all at once. That doesn't make sense to you because you're living in the framework of this dunya, right? And the limitations. But there's going to be a completely different reality.
There's no supermarkets in Jannah, bro. Alhamdulillah.
No. Unless
you want it.
Yeah. But it shows, like, I remember recently I had like 2 hours of free time. I wanted to read my book, watch a film, and play a video game all at the same time. I just couldn't do it. And I was
probably tried to do a couple of those at the same time.
Well, I remember I knew that all of these things were on my back burner and I wanted to get through these things. And it did make me think, like, in Jannah, I could theoretically, if I wanted to, do multiple things all at once. What's stopping me? It's not about, the real you is here and the fake you is... No, they're all the real me. Because Allah is going to make that possible, because anything I want is possible, right? So no matter how far we go, you're having a time of your life in the metaverse, but meanwhile in the real world your body is decomposing because you just haven't given it any attention. You're full of acne, you're greasy, you haven't showered in 10 days, bro. You know what I mean? Like,
But
you
who
know what I'm
cares, bro?
saying?
I'm a
But who
dragon.
cares? But this is it, bro. Bro, I'm level 99 on RuneScape, but actually I'm pooping in a bucket because I can't be bothered. There's a toilet.
Well, it's possible, man.
This is it, man.
Yeah, this list was it number 6. It's like interoperability. So you can swap anything with anything. Like, for example, it says that if you got a gun skin for your Counter-Strike gun, you could use that in Fortnite, right? Or you could have friends on, different platforms, but they're all connected to you through your one thing. So I guess in theory, that means it's got to be open source to a level, right?
Well, it depends on legislation at the time.
Yeah.
For this to theoretically work, the authorities have to allow Facebook to be the only thing. Because what happens tomorrow if Sony, who also have VR, hypothetically, they say, oh, we want to get into the metaverse. We're going to create our own metaverse. Oh, but Amin's on the Sonyverse and...
He's got an account on the Sonyverse.
Yeah, and we already get that now, bro. Cross-platform play with, other players on...
No, but it's going to be more like the internet rather than PlayStation, right? Because the internet is not owned by anyone in theory.
Yeah, but you've got to remember, like, those skins and those avatars and whatever, for them to exist, there has to be a deal struck.
Yeah, there does. Yeah.
And if they don't, if they say, exclusivity, because they do that now. Spider-Man, came out on PlayStation. That's only on PlayStation, right? There's multiplayer games that are only on one particular console. You can't play on it. So superimposing that onto the metaverse, it's like, it's like now, bro.
Complicated. I think we need a one world government to just sort it all out, bro.
This is kind of what it is. The businesses are trying to take it over for themselves. Like Zoom, bro. You have a Zoom meeting in one work setting, but actually this company only has Microsoft Teams, and they're not going to get a contract out. So sorry, we're not going to do that.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine how they would sort this out, to be honest. It's hard to imagine. But let's end with this question. If I prayed shoulder to shoulder, feet to feet with you in the metaverse, do I get the Ajr of Jama'ah?
Which one of you is going to ask the Sheikh, can I go to Hajj in VR? Does it count?
The Hajj one is obviously the first one we think about. But I honestly think, we could probably do a whole other episode about this. But I was saying to my wife, what if I was in the metaverse, okay? I've got the VR headset on, the graphics are really good, and I spend so much time in there that, it kind of is reality for me kind of thing, right? And I've got the haptic suit on so I can feel a lot of things and all of that. If I made wudu in the metaverse, am I on wudu? Like, can't I just pray like in the metaverse? Like, wouldn't that count? Like, people will question that for sure. I feel like definitely they'll question that.
This is where I say, like, I don't know if we're going to get that far in this. Like, when I say that far, I'm talking like Matrix level immersion, where you just don't even know that you're in the Matrix. You don't even know you're in the Metaverse. Yeah. Like, imagine you just plug a baby in at some point, and that's their whole life. They just don't even know. Because, believe it or not, as far-fetched as it sounds now, leave it to humans to do that, and they will. There's a line in the first Matrix movie which actually which people gloss over. It's a very important line.
You've read
Mr.
the script
Anderson,
line for line.
No, I remember Mr. Anderson.
Yeah.
Not Mr. Anderson. Mr. Anderson's the main character.
Yeah.
Agent Smith.
Yeah.
He's explaining. I say this because Matrix is coming out soon, isn't it? The fourth film. But Agent Smith is explaining. I'm pretty sure it's Agent Smith, or it's the what's he called? The architect. One of the two. They're explaining how the machines came about the Matrix. They say that actually the first iteration of the Matrix, or one of the first ones, was that they gave the humans everything they wanted. So it was like a quote-unquote paradise.
Yeah.
So, but they realized that giving them everything they wanted never satisfied them, and it just ended up turning their brains to mush and all this stuff. So actually they had to recreate the struggles of modern life to give it any sort of value. Do you understand?
Okay.
Because the dunya framework of a human being still has that desire to go through difficulty and then achieve, and then the
Yes.
satisfaction of achievement and earning something, right? It's the same way that you treasure something that you've earned, but you don't treasure it as much if it's just given to you. Those kind of difficulties and the beauty of trials in a way. So it's really important. So no matter how much you chase in this world, the Jannah of this world, you'll never be satisfied because there's a lot of things that come with that. But yeah, continue as I cut you off once again.
Yeah, bro. It's just, look, it's gonna happen. Like, people are gonna say, like, we need to be on the metaverse for da'wah purposes, right? We need to call people to Islam there. That's where the eyes are. But I just feel like, I know you're saying we might not get there, yeah? Even if, okay, because I think the only element that's a bit far-fetched in what I mentioned is the haptic suit, right? That might be difficult, okay? Let's say we don't have the haptic suit. If okay, I have wudu I'm in the metaverse.
Yeah.
I have wudu in real life, okay? So I use water, okay? That I would be on wudu, yeah? We could say that.
Yeah.
But because I spend so much time in the metaverse with people, and it's like we're like literally we're eating together at the table in the metaverse, yeah, and it's time for salah. Like, it would just feel so natural to just stand next to each other in a line,
Yeah,
you know, wouldn't it?
You're missing the key, maybe the like trump card of this whole thing is that Neuralink chip that they displayed, like Elon Musk displayed in Neuralink, right?
Yeah.
Where you've decoded the human brain to know what neurons fire to feel whatever. You don't need a suit anymore. If you can link it up to that Neuralink chip in your mind, you
would
just fire off
feel,
those signals
yeah,
at the right time, at the right moment.
But it is far-fetched though still. But yeah, you're right.
But actually, no. Like, now that you put it, like, technologies are never what we imagine them to be. Like, if you look at drawings of like the far future, they're never what they are now.
Right,
They've actually
yeah.
got completely different things I never ever thought of. And this is it. Like, nobody ever thought about a chip that's actually gonna. Everyone thinks about something wearable.
Yeah.
Nobody
yeah.
actually thought about skipping that.
Your
going
nervous
straight to the
system.
source.
Yeah.
Go straight to the nervous system, because they're already doing that, bro.
Yeah.
If you look at that,
because in order to have a robotic arm that has feeling, they're trying to develop that already. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. With the Neuralink, bro, you could just they've mapped the human mind. They know which nerve endings do what, etc. Fire that off at the right time, link it up to the VR system, and you're good to go. It's that combination of different technologies.
And this is the ultimate question: is like you're talking about deep faking your dead, whatever grandparent, whatever. You probably are thinking this well. Like, literally, just all I can think of when you say that is the Dajjal bringing the dead back to life, right? Yeah. And this is the thing. If you say let's go to the metaverse for da'wah purposes, you're going all in. I can imagine it'll be very difficult not to go all in eventually, right? For example, we have this social credit system built into your account on the metaverse, where your actions in the metaverse will have real life repercussions on your ability to get a loan, your ability to rent in this area, your ability for this and that. So it could become, I'm not saying what it will do, it could become so linked to your real life that the Dajjal could literally be some dude in the metaverse bringing people back to life. I don't know, but all I can say is it really blurs and blurs and blurs, like just how we can relate to it, because we can see how Instagram blurs reality, right? Just Instagram. So we can see how this would take that up a notch. So I think, we see all the benefits, but I would hold back on the whole fully immersive thing. I would go in for 20 minutes, come out kind of thing. As soon as it becomes something where it's hours and hours, or it comes with you easily, you can easily go in, and that's where you got to kind of question a lot of things. I think it all comes back down to maybe like self-awareness and just reflection. This kind of decision.
It's all about kids, bro. I worry about the kids. Think of the children. They'll be spending 40 hours, 50 hours. The whole weeks will be in it. But will it ever, this is the Western
materialize?
World, will it ever be adopted everywhere else?
Yeah, bro.
One knows best.
I don't know, yeah. Okay. Signing out. Email us with your input, your ideas, inshallah. at mindheistpodcast.com.
Oh,
We got a few comments actually on YouTube, so maybe if some of them are like worthy to mention, like we do with emails, maybe we should check those out. Sometimes we reply to them though there and then with text. But yeah, and inshallah, next episode will be with a guest. Anything to mention, Mohammed?
we've still got the Quran League competition running. I forgot about it this week.
Yeah, bro.
But,
What we're gonna do with that? Because I thought we just pick the random ones and let send it.
We'll do it after this episode. We'll
We'll
announce it again. So if you still want to get a a whole years of Quran League for 2 people, so we'll have 2 winners, inshallah. Just email us at mindheistpodcast@gmail.com with just anything, just say, this is for the Quran League competition or whatever. Because I'm making a list of all the entries.
Okay,
and
good.
At some point after this episode, we will announce it. Just follow us on
but I guess we're just going to pick it a bit. Are we going to announce it? Because maybe people don't want their name or their email shared or whatever.
No,
so.
I will.
Like if you won, you'll just get an email at some point, I guess, right?
Yeah, I will just make a little clip or something on Instagram.
Yeah, cool.
So follow us on there to be, whatever.
Yeah, when it's over, so they know it's over, so they don't. Yeah, but we got a lot of interest in that, mashallah. Like when things are being given out for free, people are on it. When we want the interaction, not so much. But alhamdulillah, we got a lot of interaction, alhamdulillah. Okay, subhanak Allahumma wa bihamdik, shadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Excellent episode, bro. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.